Alright guys, we're back with some more fantasy baseball content here. I'm going to talk about the pitchers with the best and worst upcoming schedules through the rest of the season. Once we get to this point of the year, the real championship push, such a small amount of time of the season remaining, sometimes a player's schedule is more important than their actual skill level. Like if you have a pitcher who's a pretty good pitcher, but he's pitching against the Dodgers and the Yankees and the Mets and the Red Sox, you have a pitcher who's kind of a mid pitcher and he's pitching against the Marlins, Nationals, and the Pirates, you might have to make the difficult choice of going with that mid pitcher over that good pitcher. So in this video, I'm going to tell you about, again, all of the really good schedules, all of the really bad schedules, and some of the kind of ones in the middle where some of these difficult decisions will have to be made. Of course, if you guys do like what you're watching, please go down there and click that big black subscribe button. We're getting really close to 7,000 subscribers. Would love to get there by the end of the season. Also, two big announcements. Number one, channel memberships are open. If you guys are watching on your desktop, you can click that little join button right next to the subscribe button. $3.99 a month, and you guys can ask me specific questions about your actual fantasy teams, and I will give you personalized advice. Second big announcement, I have a new channel. It's an all baseball channel, not exactly fantasy focused, but much more just, again, all baseball focused. It's called The Wind Up. The link to that is in the description right here. We did the most overrated player in every team earlier this week, the most underrated player in every team today, and it's with my good pal Mark Luino. You guys might know him as Draft Deck Mark. So tons of content coming on that channel through the end of the regular season, through the postseason, through the offseason. Lots of great baseball stuff there. But all right, now let's get into it. There's about 7 teams right now that have really good schedules through the end of the season. The first one I got here, probably the easiest remaining schedule for pitchers, is the Chicago Cubs. They're playing a series right now against the Washington Nationals. And otherwise, over these last few weeks, they're also facing off against the Rays, the Pirates, and the Cardinals. Those are 3 really good matchups for pitchers, as well as a series in Cincinnati. A little bit scary. We hate that ballpark in Cincinnati, but as a team, the Reds are not a team to fear whatsoever. The one really difficult series that the Cubs do have going through the end of the season is when the Mets come to town in a few weeks. But again, we have mostly favorable matchups for all of these Cubs pitchers, and you're going to be able to find a lot of value through the end of the season in a guy like Cade Horton. He's been one of the most effective pitchers in baseball over the last few months with an ERA under 1 in the second half. He just threw 5 nearly perfect innings on Wednesday against the Braves, and he has a 2-start week this week coming against the Pirates and the Reds. Another really good thing for Horton against the Reds specifically, Horton sometimes can struggle with left-handed batters because he's really more of a fastball sweeper guy. The Reds don't have that many very good left-handed hitters, so again, just one more notch in his direction. Otherwise, besides Horton, someone who probably is a bit sneakier under the radar than Horton, because again, the ERA is under 1 in the second half. Jameson Taillon has the exact same 2-step against the Pirates and the Reds this week. If you guys are in any 12-team league, take a hard look at your waiver wire, see if you can find Jameson Taillon on there. Again, besides those 2, of course, you guys are rolling with Shota Imanaga and Matthew Boyd. Again, those 4 pitchers right there, they're going to have really good matchups the rest of the season. You should be keeping an eye on them in your waiver wire and make sure they're on your roster if available. The next team up is the Atlanta Braves, and I caution you guys, don't look at the Braves schedule this week. You want to avoid the Braves this week because they play the Cubs and the Astros, 2 offenses I don't really want to tangle with at the moment. But after they get done with those 2 series, again, this coming week, they close the season with the Nationals in Detroit, the Nationals again, and then the Pittsburgh Pirates. Chris Sale himself can end his season, based on the way the schedule's aligned at the moment, with 2 starts against the Nationals and 1 start against the Pirates. That right there, for a guy who has not been around for the last few months, could actually swing entire leagues. Hurston Waldrop, one of the favorites of this channel over the last few months, also has a few cupcakes. He's going to mix in against some of those poor teams. And then you also kind of have to probably revisit the Spencer Strider question. I know he's been terrible of late. The swings and misses have totally dried up. I'm not confident in the strikeouts. I'm really not confident in him just period whatsoever at all. But with some of those cupcake matchups against the Nationals and Pirates, you really have to consider him, especially if there's a 2-start week mixed in there. Those Nationals and Pirates lineups are also so bad, I would even be considering Bryce Elder or Joey Wentz if I'm in a very deep league and I desperately need one more streaming option. Again, this Brave schedule is beautiful at the moment after this week against the Cubs and Astros. Then next up, we have the Detroit Tigers. The scales tip towards the Tigers for having an easy schedule for the big reasons that they still have 2 series left against the Cleveland Guardians. I know I just said the Nationals and the Pirates might have the worst lineups in baseball right now, but that's only because right now the Cleveland Guardians have absolutely the worst lineup in baseball, bar none, no question about it. It's literally Jose Ramirez and a bunch of nonsense. I know Steven Kwan gets on base, he gets his hits, but this lineup is really a complete disaster. You want to be starting any pitcher you can possibly find against them rest of the season. Along with those 2 series against the Guardians, the Tigers also go to Miami for a series against the Marlins and have the Athletics come to them in Detroit, which is a big deal because going to Sacramento and play the Athletics is very difficult. Athletics coming to you, not so bad. Funny enough, though, the Tiger season, with all of those really good matchups in the middle, it's bookended by a series against the Yankees, a series against the Red Sox. So I would avoid those for the pitchers you know who are not like must-start guys, but all of those beautiful matchups in the middle, you want to be streaming as much as you can. Guys like Casey Mize, Jack Flaherty, Charlie Morton become a lot more interesting when they have these cupcake matchups. Even if you guys have Tarek Skubal, of course I'm not telling you to get him. Of course you're not going to be able to get him. Absolutely not. He's going to be the Cy Young winner again. But if you do have him, you might be able to enjoy matchups against the White Sox, the Marlins, the Guardians, and the Guardians to end your season. If you guys are playing in a head-to-head points league and you have Tarek Skubal, just be grateful for that scheduling luck because it is a beauty. Next up, another team with just a ridiculously easy schedule is the Milwaukee Brewers. They play the Pirates this weekend, then the Texas Rangers without Corey Seager and Marcus Semien, then the Cardinals twice, the Angels, the Reds at home. That is a ridiculous run of easy matchups. The only one in there that could be a little bit nerve-wracking is when they go to San Diego to face the Padres. There are so many easy games mixed into the rest of their schedule. Any pitcher that makes a start for them should be high up on your list of considerations for streamers. Of course, Freddie Peralta and Brandon Woodruff, those guys are set and forget in your lineups. Quinn Priester's close to that point as well, and you're going to trust him through the end of the season. Jacob Mizorowski, I know he's been hot and cold. I know I've been hot and cold, Jacob Mizorowski, but with those easy matchups, hopefully we can get through 5 innings with 8 strikeouts to qualify for some good wins. Even someone like Jose Quintana, who's just a metronome in this rotation, out there week after week, every 5th day. In these easy matchups, Quintana is a great source of cheap wins, quality starts, eat some innings, everything. But this schedule is so easy for the Brewers, and they're so close to having everything locked up, that you should even be on the lookout for other guys who are getting starts who might not even be on this list. If Tobias Myers gets a spot start and he's stretched out enough to go 5 innings, he should be in consideration. Chad Patrick, Robert Gosser in the minor leagues. Basically everybody except Eric Fedde, if they start a game for the Milwaukee Brewers over the next month, you should think about putting them in your lineup if your league is deep enough. 2 more teams here, really easy schedules to end the season. Next up, we have the Seattle Mariners. The Mariners have series against the Cardinals, the Angels, home against the Rockies, and the Royals. They do have 2 tough series to end the season against the Dodgers and the Astros, but watch out for those. That's a few weeks away. Don't think about that yet. Just think about those easy series before that, especially for a guy like George Kirby, who I know has been a disaster over the last few weeks, but you kind of have to just keep trusting him, especially with those easy matchups coming up. I know it could burn us like it just burned us last week, but this time of year is about making difficult decisions, and with a matchup that easy, it's hard to actually get yourself to the spot where you're going to put George Kirby on your bench. That being said, the flip side, Logan Gilbert and Brian Wu, guys who have been aces, they are both in smash spots to end the season and really push us over the hump. Past that top of the rotation, we have Bryce Miller and Luis Castillo. Up and down guys, Miller, healthy, unhealthy, healthy, unhealthy, pitching kind of well, pitching not that well, kind of just in between, inconsistent. Same with Castillo, who was kind of getting by in smoke and mirrors for most of the season. Now he's gotten hit really hard, regressed kind of quickly. For those guys, again, deep league, you probably start them no matter what in these easy matchups. More shallow leagues, 10-team leagues, 8-team matchup-based leagues, I would definitely be looking to start them at home specifically. Unless you get a really good gut feeling about either of those guys in the road matchup. I'm pretty sure the road series they play is against the Royals, which is still not a good offense and a great park to pitch in. You just kind of have to roll with them. But especially if you're even thinking about sitting them, really think twice about sitting them at home. I'd really want those guys in my lineups when the Mariners are home. Now, the last team here in the good schedule portion of this video, it's the Baltimore Orioles. And this is an interesting one because their schedule is a full minefield. They do have series coming up against the Dodgers, the Blue Jays, and 2 against the Yankees. But in betwixt all of those games, they have series against the Pirates, the White Sox, and the Rays at home. So right there, again, a minefield. It's going to be very different based on which pitcher you're looking at, how good a schedule seems for these starters on the Orioles. But in terms of guys who have really good matchups going to the end of the season based on the way they're scheduled right now, Kyle Bradish, who's come off the IL and looked just absolutely stupendous, incredible lately. He is lined up to face the Pirates and the White Sox in his next 2 starts. Those are absolute smash spots for a pitcher with huge strikeout upside, who's, again, looked basically back to his old self, if not better. I'm going to talk about Bradish next week in a pitcher-focused video. It's more objective, not about schedules, but wow, he looks so great off the IL. Fastball's got zip on it. Him starting against the Pirates and the White Sox, that's a great spot. Same goes for Tyler Wells. Much more of a deep league guy, under-the-radar guy, also just off the IL, has looked really good, first time back, and as is scheduled right now, should face the Pirates, the White Sox, and the Rays to end this season. The one thing that will detract a little bit, though, from all Orioles pitchers is that they're rolling with a 6-man rotation for the time being, so you're not really going to get any 2-start weeks mixed in. But again, if you guys need streamers, look really closely at Kyle Bradish in any league, and if a slightly deeper league, Tyler Wells. All right, now those are all the teams with really good schedules, but now I have 3 teams I want to tell you guys about with really bad schedules, starting out with the Cincinnati Reds. The Mets are in town to face them this weekend, then they have the Brewers, they have the Cubs, they have the Padres. They still have to go to Sacramento to face the Athletics. That is a horrible run of matchups. Really bad for any pitcher. On top of that, even the series they have at home, it's a horrible home park. You guys always know that. I kind of always knock Reds pitchers down my rankings because of that, but it's a lot happening at once for a team that's really struggling to stay in the playoff race, and something that could be really dangerous for some of these pitchers in kind of the middle that we've trusted for a good portion of this year, but I don't know what we're going to get in these bad matchups. A guy like Andrew Abbott, who I'm always a little bit lower on than the consensus. I know he's had a good year. I'm always really scared about that Andrew Abbott blow up around the corner just because of the way all those pitches interact with each other. Fastball, the changeup, the slider. Again, it works really well. He gets a lot of pop-ups. He's been really good this year at getting fly balls to stay in the park. But if anything goes wrong, I'm really nervous about an Andrew Abbott start that could just tank a matchup. The same goes for Nick Lodolo. He has not gotten back in the same role since returning from his blister issue. And with him being inconsistent, seeing the inconsistencies that he's shown in the past, some of these really tough matchups are going to be very difficult decisions whether or not you're going to start Lodolo. And if you have other options, I would definitely strongly consider them. This doesn't apply to a guy like Hunter Green, though. Hunter Green is the ace of aces. Like, he's in the top tier of pitchers. He's someone you really never, ever consider a matchup for. But those two guys in the middle, Abbott and Lodolo, respectively, really, really long, difficult conversations about whether or not they're going to be in lineups over these last few weeks. And of course, if you're trying to stream guys like Zach Littell or Brady Singer, I'd probably advise against it unless you had no other options. Next, we have the Kansas City Royals, who have a pretty good start to this week with a 4-game series against the Cleveland Guardians. But after that, they have to go to Philadelphia, home against the Mariners, home against the Blue Jays, and then to Sacramento. That is an absolute disaster for any of these pitchers. Just seeing that, if you guys were already thinking about dropping Seth Lugo, this could be your push over the edge to actually go ahead and do it. And I'm very worried about guys who have been good, especially of late, in Ryan Bergert, and on the season as a whole in Noah Cameron. These difficult matchups will expose some pitchers who maybe are getting by with a bit of good luck. Not saying those pitchers are getting by with good luck, but those pitchers probably are pitching a little bit better than their skills would indicate at the moment. I'd be really nervous about starting those guys in any of those matchups. And then lastly is the Angels. Mostly a bad rotation, but also with a very bad schedule. So I don't know how many of these guys you were considering starting anyway, but just telling you guys to be more mindful about whether or not you're playing Jose Soriano or Yusei Kikuchi over these last few weeks. Now, that was a lot more team-based analysis, a lot more broad-scale kind of stuff, but now there's a lot of pitchers individually on some of these teams who could have easy matchups, hard matchups, otherwise some teams I didn't mention, but just some scheduling quirks, both good and bad, as we close out the season. The first one that's really good, the San Diego Padres this week, they have series against the Reds and Rockies at home. Specifically, Yu Darvish and Nestor Cortez each have 2 start weeks against the Reds and the Rockies. It's going to be tough. I know those guys aren't that trustworthy right now. Cortez is probably not even close to anybody's radar unless you're quite in a deep league. Yu Darvish, very up and down, very inconsistent. Just doesn't look at all like the same guy. For the 2-start week this time of year, both in San Diego, both against bad offenses, one against one putrid offense, you might have to just roll it out and hope for the best. Again, just want to bring that one to your attention. Similarly, another one I really want to bring to your guys' attention this week, Cade Cavalli and Mitchell Parker have a 2-start week against the Marlins and the Pirates. Sometimes the world just gives you really difficult decisions to make, and that's what you're going to have to do this week with both Cavalli and Parker. I like Cavalli more than Parker. I know that Cavalli's been very inconsistent. There's been some really good starts and some really bad starts and some really just okay starts mixed in. Mitchell Parker, he's shown the ability to get blown up by basically any team in the league, but also seems to have more found his curveball over his last few outings. It's going to be a tough call. I can't make this one for you guys, but again, based on your league and team context, if you're in a deeper league and you're desperate for starts and innings, Cavalli and Mitchell Parker with 2-start weeks against 2 really putrid offenses has to be something you consider. Continuing on, another one is going to force you guys into difficult decisions. Bailey Ober. I know he's been very inconsistent. I know some of you guys would argue he's actually just been bad. But he has starts to end the year against the Royals, the Diamondbacks, who are not that great of an offense right now, the Guardians, and the Rangers. If the Rangers still don't have Corey Seager back, those are 4 really good matchups for Guy and Ober that we expected consistency from heading into the season. Hasn't shown it yet. We're always just 1 or 2 starts away from finding it. Here's a fun one, too. The Mets are calling up another rookie starting pitcher, Brandon Sproat, to make his debut this Sunday in Cincinnati. After that start in Cincinnati, Sproat is scheduled to face the Rangers at home and then the Nationals and then the Marlins to close out the season. Those are 3 really good matchups. Again, I know it's a rookie. I know it's hard to trust. He was really good over his last 9 starts with AAA after he made some pitch mix adjustments, some arm angle adjustments to help his curveball and his changeup. Things that have been a struggle for him, but now things have been really helpful for him against left-handed batters. Those last 9 starts, about 50 innings. It was a 2.4 ERA and a 30% strikeout rate. We've seen the Mets pitchers have success coming to the major leagues. Sproat could be the third one to follow in those footsteps. So probably not all the way on the same level as Nolan McLean or Jonah Tonks so far. Then past him, another young pitcher, Emmett Sheehan, this week has a home start against the Colorado Rockies. That's an auto stream right there, no doubt about it. Braxton Ashcraft, another guy who's been really good over the last month, but not exactly showing the length, start in and start out, that we want from a guy in fantasy right now. He's scheduled to have a 2-star week this week in Baltimore against the Orioles and home against the Nationals. The only thing is the Pirates have been moving their pitchers around a little bit, 6-man rotation, not bringing guys back, kind of using guys like Ashcraft and Cameron Ledzinski and Bubba Chandler in weird different roles. So just be aware. See how this week winds up. See if Braxton Ashcraft, by the time you guys setting your lineups on Sunday and Monday, is still scheduled for that 2-step, because things change so much this time of year. You got to be really on top of it. Another pitcher with good streaming matchups, Michael McGreevy. He's going to Seattle, home against the Reds, at San Francisco. It's not great. It's also not bad. Deep league, need innings. Michael McGreevy's an option. Then the last one, this is not for the faint of heart. Yoendrys Gomez. Not an exciting pitcher. Doesn't really have an out pitch. Mixes a lot of junk, especially against the lefties. I think he has a 2-start this week against the Rays at home and then against the Guardians. That's probably worth it in a deeper league, especially as Yoendrys Gomez, a relief pitcher eligible starter. That could just be that tiny little caveat you guys need to push yourself ahead in your matchup. But again, it's a very risky one. I just wanted to put it out there. And then some guys with some bad runs of schedules ahead, some individual pitchers. Tyler Rogers. You guys know on this channel, I have not been the keenest on Tyler Rogers. I do believe it. I think he's a good pitcher. But here's how he closes out the season. When you guys are watching this on Saturday, he's facing the Dodgers. Then he goes to Toronto and then 2 starts against the Yankees. I mentioned how good of schedules Kyle Bradish and Tyler Wells have for the same Orioles team. The fact that that's what Rogers has, that's a disaster. Like, I don't even know how comfortable I am him starting in any of those matchups. I really don't. If he shuts down the Dodgers, I'll be more confident for the Blue Jays. And then if he does well against the Blue Jays, I'll probably just keep riding it as long as he's good. But once something bad happens with Tyler Rogers, I'm out. And that's why watching schedules this time of year is so important. Again, so you can get ahead of a guy like Tyler Rogers having that disastrous of a schedule. But also, on the flip side, if one thing changes, if one guy gets moved or taken out of the rotation, then he can get those matchups against the Rays, the Pirates, and the White Sox like Wells and Bradish have. So it's just, you got to be on top of everything right now. So you're watching this channel. And then lastly, 2 more. Jesus Luzardo. He's got starts come up against the Mets and the Dodgers. Good luck to Luzardo, who we know how up and down he can be. And then Jack Leiter has had a great run of success over the last month, but he has starts against Milwaukee and Houston coming up. They're definitely scaring me. So again, you guys, I hope this helped you think about scheduling through the rest of the season. I'm going to have another video coming out this week on the channel. My last top 50 pitcher update is going to be a more objective look at the top 50 pitchers, but I will start to still peek at these schedules and mention that. But again, I want to do the scheduling stuff first. I think that's much more nitty gritty. Then we can get back to some more regular ball talk next week about the pitchers. But that's upcoming schedules. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Again, just to remind you guys, channel memberships are open. Join $3.99 a month. Personalized fantasy advice. And please watch the windup. My new channel with Giraffe Neck Mark. It's going to be so much great baseball content. Videos and videos and videos and videos every single week forever. So get in there now. First few videos have already come out. But thank you guys so much again. I'll see you next time.